Okay, so let's unpack this. There's some genuinely exciting news bubbling up in the Web3 space. Yeah, a development that really feels like a major step forward. I mean, for transparency, performance, and maybe most importantly, usability. We're talking about DappRadar.
Okay, yeah. Big name.
Exactly. The world's, leading platform for Dapp discovery analytics. They've just made a pretty significant move.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
They've joined the XPR network as a block producer.
Wow, okay. DappRadar is a BP.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting. It's not just technical, right? There are bigger strategic things going on there.
Precisely. And that's what we want to get into in this deep dive. We'll explore, what a block producer actually is.
Right. The nuts and bolts.
Exactly. And why this specific partnership, DappRadar and XPR Network, why it's such a key moment, potentially, for dApps.
And what it means for you listening, and the whole Web3 ecosystem, really.
Yeah, it feels like one of those collaborations that's sort of quietly shifting the game towards accessibility.
Usability, yeah. Making it actually work for people.
Absolutely. This isn't just like another press release. It feels more tangible. Web3 actually evolving.
Getting real.
So let's dive right in. What makes this specific move so unique? Now, when we hear block producer, I think for a lot of people it sounds purely technical, right? Something hidden deep in the network's plumbing.
Yeah, very techie term.
But on a network like XPR, which uses delegated proof of stake, DPoS, it seems like it's much more than that. Can you maybe break down what a block producer really does there?
Yeah, absolutely. So in simple terms, block producers, or BPs, they're kind of like the network's guardians.
They're guardians, okay.
Yeah, they're elected by the community. Their main job is, validating transactions, creating the new blocks of data.
The core blockchain stuff?
Exactly. And making sure the XPR network keeps performing well, stays fast, and, crucially, stays decentralized. They're the ones, really, keeping the lights on and the chain running smoothly.
Right. But what strikes me, and maybe you can elaborate, is that it sounds like it's more than just keeping the servers running.
Oh, definitely.
A really good block producer, it seems, brings more to the table than just, technical uptime.
Yeah.
What are some of those other ways, maybe less obvious ways, a BP helps an ecosystem grow?
That's a great point. Because the best BPs, the top tier ones, they're not just validators, they're ecosystem builders. They actively work to bring in new users. They help improve access to information. I mean, think how much easier it is to navigate Web3 when you have good, clear data.
Yeah, true.
And they support the long-term health, the growth of the entire chain. They're really active participants.
Okay, so they're invested beyond just the technical role.
Very much so.
Which I guess leads us right to the DPoS voting part.
Yeah.
That's central to XPR Network's whole governance model. And this is where you, as a user, get a direct say.
Yeah.
When you stake your XPR tokens, you actually have to vote for 4 block producers. How does that system work to keep things decentralized?
Well, it fundamentally puts the power, the governance, right into the hands of the people holding the tokens.
The community itself.
Exactly. The community decides together who should be responsible for securing and maintaining the blockchain. It prevents power from getting, too concentrated in just a few hands.
Right. And just to clarify something I know listeners often ask about staking.
Yeah.
Choosing which BPs to vote for, that doesn't change how much you earn in staking rewards, does it?
No, absolutely not. That's a key point. Your rewards are based purely on how much XPR you've staked. The voting is all about governance, about supporting the network's health and decentralization. It's your way of having a voice.
Okay, that makes sense. So, bearing all that in mind, the role of a BP, the governance, why DappRadar? Why do they choose XPR Network? I mean, they've been around since 2018, right?
Yeah.
Always focused on Dapp data.
Yeah, they're veterans in the space. And I think the core reason is alignment. DappRadar's mission, which is about bringing transparency and accurate info on dApps, it just fits perfectly with XPR Network's whole vision, which is, building blockchain infrastructure that's actually accessible, transparent, and really built for real-world use.
So it's more than just listing XPR dApps on their site.
Oh, much more. For DappRadar, this looks like a really strategic move. They're not just analyzing the infrastructure anymore, they're actively participating and shaping it.
And I saw a quote from Skirmantas Danuskis, the DappRadar CEO. He said something really telling.
What was that?
He mentioned that gas fees and complexity limit user adoption across the Web3 ecosystem, which, let's be honest, is something we hear all the time.
Yeah, it's the elephant in the room for a lot of chains.
Totally. And he specifically pointed to XPR Network's feeless model and integrated identity solutions as things that tackle those exact problems.
Right, and that feeless part is huge.
It really is. But how does XPR actually achieve that sustainably? We've seen other projects try feeless and, well, it doesn't always stick. What's different here?
That's a fair question. A lot hinges on the protocol design itself. XPR Network basically bakes the transaction cost handling into the network's operation rather than charging the end user for every little thing.
So it's subsidized by the network infrastructure somehow.
Sort of, yeah, through various internal mechanisms. The point is, it removes that huge barrier, that friction, for both regular users trying something out and for developers building on it.
Makes sense. And then there's the identity piece too.
Right, integrated digital identity. That allows for interactions that are privacy conscious but can also meet compliance needs when necessary. Another big step for wider adoption.
And it seems like there's more to XPR than just the transaction model. You mentioned the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, there's a pretty robust DeFi ecosystem already there. You've got Metallicus, which is interesting. It's a fully on-chain order book DXX, not an AMM, an actual order book.
How interesting.
And the loan protocol, which handles native lending and borrowing right on the chain. Plus, you have to remember, XPR Network is backed by Metallicus. They're building out the digital banking network. And XPR is even hosting their first stablecoin pilot.
So it's plugged into a much bigger financial tech picture.
Exactly. It's not just an isolated blockchain project. So when you look at all that, DappRadar's move makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it really paints a picture of them moving from just, like, observing Web3...
Indexing it, yeah.
Yeah.
Which they do incredibly well.
...to actively helping build the next phase of it,
right.
Putting their weight behind a specific vision for usability.
Observer to participant. And bringing all that data know-how right to the core infrastructure level. Pretty powerful.
Okay, so DappRadar jumps in as a block producer on XPR. What specific things do they actually bring to the network, like tangible benefits?
Well, several things. First off, infrastructure stability. DappRadar runs a major platform. They know operations uptime. They bring that operational excellence.
Like reliability.
Then, obviously, their core strength, data and analytics. They're not just using data anymore. They're positioned to surface insights about the XPR network itself, making the whole ecosystem more visible, more understandable.
For users and developers building on it, I guess.
Exactly. Better tooling, better insights for builders.
And I suppose the big one, exposure.
Huge exposure, yeah. Think about it. All the dApps built on XPR will now get way more visibility through DappRadar's platform. That's massive for attracting users and developers.
Yeah, that's a direct pipeline to a global audience.
Absolutely. And it's not just passive visibility. They've said they'll be actively participating in the ecosystem.
Meaning what? Like working with projects?
Yeah, working directly with the teams, building on XPR, helping them grow, helping them reach people. It's a much more hands-on role than just validating blocks.
Okay. But playing devil's advocate for a second, are there any potential, challenges or conflicts when an analytics platform also runs infrastructure?
It's a fair question to ask. You could imagine potential conflicts of interest, maybe. But honestly, in this case, the synergy seems stronger.
How so?
Because their unique position as a data provider gives them this incredible vantage point. They can see usage patterns, bottlenecks, growth opportunities within the XPR ecosystem, maybe better than anyone.
Oh, so they can use their data insights to actually help optimize the network's growth.
Precisely. They can help steer things from the inside. Based on real data, it's actually a pretty unique opportunity.
Okay, this sounds really compelling. And you mentioned users get involved through voting. So for listeners who hold XPR or are thinking about it, how do they actually, vote for DappRadar?
It's straightforward. When you go to stake your XPR tokens, you usually do this through something like the Webauth wallet or maybe the XPR Network Block Explorer directly. The process requires you to select 4 block producers to vote for with your stake.
Right, the mandatory 4.
Yeah. So you'd simply choose DappRadar as one of your 4 choices alongside 3 others you want to support.
Okay, simple enough. Seems like a small action, but it sounds like it actually matters for the network itself.
It absolutely does. Every vote contributes to the network's decentralization and governance. It's how the community maintains control.
And just to hammer that point home again, your staking rewards are safe, regardless of who you vote for.
Correct. Rewards are based on your stake amount only. Voting is purely about participating in governance.
So, wrapping things up a bit, this partnership, DappRadar and XPR, it really feels like it underscores that core idea, doesn't it? That blockchains should be usable.
Yeah, and affordable and open to everyone. It's a practical step in that direction. It shows XPR Network's commitment to that vision and DappRadar believing in it enough to jump in.
It really does. It's a great tangible example of that trend we keep talking about, Web3 moving towards, well, real accessibility.
And real-world utility, yeah, beyond just the crypto-native crowd.
Moving past the niche phase, maybe, towards tools people can actually, use without needing a PhD in cryptography.
Hopefully, that's the goal, right?
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Mm-hmm.
How might partnerships, exactly like this one, the ones really focused on cutting down friction, boosting transparency, how might they fundamentally change the way everyday people interact with blockchain tech over the next few years?
Yeah, that's the big question. And maybe thinking even broader, what other industries, maybe industries currently bogged down by complexity or hidden fees?
Right, like traditional finance or supply chains or ticketing.
Exactly. Which of those might be ripe for this kind of innovation? Where else could this focus on usability and accessibility make a huge difference? Something to think about.